August 24th, 2023, from 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. tonight. And there are a couple of ways you can do that. First, raise thermostats if it's safe to do so. And second, avoid using large appliances such as washers, dryers, and ovens. If rolling power outages do occur, they will likely be between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. in 15-minute increments. A power outage, of course, is when the electric power goes down unexpectedly. We want residents to be prepared, so these are helpful tips no matter what the circumstance is, but keep these in mind. Number one, remain calm. Follow instructions from federal authorities and help us again by conserving energy. Two, find an alternative power source. Plan for batteries and alternative power sources to meet your needs when power goes out, such as a portable charger or a power bank, and have flashlights ready. Remember, never use a generator indoors. Also, number three, know your medical needs. If you rely on electricity for medical needs, make certain a power outage plan for your medical devices or refrigerated medicines is trained for. Find out how long medication can be stored at higher temperatures and get specific guidance for any critical medications. These are all, again, important tips to be prepared during these kinds of issues. Number four, appliances. Disconnect appliances and electronics to avoid damage to them from electrical surges. And finally, five, for food storage, keep your refrigerators and freezers closed. The City of San Antonio libraries are available for residents who need a cool place to stay. They will remain open until 9 p.m. tonight. At all parks, that goes for parks and community centers for residents who need a cool place to stay. At 4 p.m., we will have a list of libraries, senior centers, and county facilities that will remain open until 9 p.m., and VIA will provide no-cost transportation to those facilities. You may know that there's a District 2 town hall for the budget that was scheduled for this evening. That will be rescheduled to a later date, and we'll share that date as soon as possible. We also want to let you know that at 4:30 p.m., we may be sending out a wireless emergency alert if there is continued strain on the energy grid from ERCOT. And so, of course, if you have any questions, please call 311 or visit the City of San Antonio's Office of Emergency Management website at SAOM. Sorry, let me get this right. The website is SAOEMprepare.com. SA Office of Emergency Management.com. So SAOEMprepare.com. All right, let me turn it over now to our CPS Energy CEO, Rudy Garza.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Judge, for being here to support us today as well. Of course, thank you to my boss, the Chair of the Board, Jeannie Gonzalez, for being here. She's always so supportive of what's going on. And I guess welcome to my world. It's been an extremely hot summer. And by and large, the system, both our system and ERCOT, have performed pretty well this summer. But the heat has persisted. And, you know, you might ask, well, why are all of a sudden now we're having these requests for conservation, whereas it's been pretty quiet over the months of May, June, and July. And it really has to do with just kind of the changing, you know, patterns. We've got schools back in service, so the load overall across ERCOT is up, and it's up into the evening hours. In the current kind of weather pattern, wind has started to ramp down a little earlier in the evening, along the same time that solar typically ramps down. So just that dynamic of wind being a little lower than it has been up to this point in summer, and load being higher. I think you'll hear the same thing out of Pablo Vegas, the CEO of ERCOT's messaging, as you will ours. So our plants are running great. We're contributing to the health of the ERCOT grid, and we have been all summer long. And I want to really spend some time thanking the employees of CPS Energy, both the folks in the field that keep your power and your gas flowing every day, and especially the folks at our power generating facilities. They have done an exceptional job this summer maintaining reliability for our customers here in San Antonio, and again contributing back towards the health of the grid. This is the conversation this afternoon really is just as a precaution. We've been close a couple times over the last week. We haven't got to the point where, where the picture looks like it does today. I mean, if you look at ERCOT's website, when the blue gets above the purple, that's where demand exceeds supply, at least in the forecast. And so we have to ensure that in those time periods, and it really is between 7 and 9, that where the risk is today, that our customers are just prepared. We have not had a what we call a load shed event. It's a controlled outage situation where ERCOT calls for, when supply is lower than demand. The only way to equal that out is to proactively reduce demand on the system. And so when ERCOT makes that call, the entire state has, based on their load share of the system, has to respond with that amount of load so that we balance the system out while we're in that condition. Maybe we get there today, maybe we don't. But today is probably the likeliest that I've seen that it could happen. So we're here today to be proactive with our community. We have not had a load shed event of this nature since Winter Storm Uri. And I can tell you we are a whole different utility today than we were 2.5 years ago. My colleague and friend, Robert Puente, is here today as well. The issues we saw with the water system, we fixed. The major pump stations for saws are now protected on our system, so we won't see that same dynamic this go around that we saw last time, and I just appreciate the collaboration between Robert and Eric and myself. We talk frequently, if not weekly. So we're ready for whatever comes. The experience will be much different this time. That event 2.5 years ago was the most extreme event we've ever seen in ERCOT. That is not the condition that the view that we're looking at today. If ERCOT does call for a load shed event, it'll be a much smaller scale and likely will not last, but maybe an hour or two at most, assuming we don't lose any additional power plants on the system. And most customers, if you do experience a potential outage, you'll experience an outage for 15 minutes, and then you'll be on for some amount of time. If it persists, then you might see a second outage, but I think that's probably highly unlikely today. So for customers who do experience an outage, they should see an outage for 10, 15 minutes and then be back on, and we should be good to go. I would encourage customers, if you do find yourself impacted by an outage this evening, you can see what's going on our outage map. So we'll have a message up that we're under ERCOT controlled outages on our outage map, and that's really kind of how you can tell how the outages are being rotated across the community. And all parts of the community, will be impacted for those circuits that are part of that system. So just for my council members, all of your districts will be impacted. So we don't focus on any one council district or quadrant. In CPS Energy terms, the whole community would be impacted in the event of a load shed event. So I'm going to stop there. I think we're going to turn it over to Maria and let Maria cover these talking points in Spanish, and then we'll take questions.
Thank you, Rudy. Good afternoon. Buenas tardes, soy María Villagómez, subadministradora de la ciudad de San Antonio. El Consejo de Confiabilidad Eléctrica de Texas, ERCOT, pronostica condiciones estrictas en la red eléctrica y pide a los tejanos que conserven energía y estén preparados el día de hoy. Existe una gran posibilidad de cortes de luz o cortes de energía en todo San Antonio y en todo el estado esta tarde y esta noche. La ciudad de San Antonio está trabajando con CPS Energy, nuestra compañía de electricidad, el condado de Béjar y nuestra compañía del agua SOS para ayudar a conservar energía aquí en San Antonio a un nivel local. Pero necesitamos la ayuda de toda la comunidad para conservar energía el día de hoy. Quiero dejar muy claro que este es un problema estatal y no es el resultado de problemas de generación eléctrica con nuestra compañía de CPS. La demanda de energía en todo Texas está superando la capacidad de generación del estado. En eventos de corte de carga eléctrica, todos los miembros de ERCOT, como la ciudad de San Antonio, deben participar en estos cortes de electricidad continuos. Así que lo primero que pedimos es conservar la energía. ERCOT ha emitido un llamado para conservar energía hoy, el 24 de agosto de 2023, de las 6 a las 9 de la noche. Aquí hay algunas formas en que usted nos puede ayudar a conservar energía. Eleve la temperatura en sus termostatos. Evite el uso de electrodomésticos grandes como son lavadoras, secadoras y hornos. Es muy probable que se produzcan cortes de energía esta noche. Si los hay, probablemente sean entre las 6 de la tarde y las 9 de la noche, en incrementos de 15 minutos. Un corte de energía significa que la electricidad eléctrica se cortará inesperadamente. Nosotros queremos que nuestros residentes estén preparados, así que aquí hay 5 maneras de cómo hacerlo. Primeramente, manténgase en calma. No use generadores adentro de su casa porque eso puede ser peligroso. Conozca sus necesidades médicas. Si depende de la electricidad para cualquier necesidad médica, haga un plan ahora para cortar esos dispositivos médicos o mantenerlos en refrigeración. Desconecte también sus aparatos electrónicos y electrodomésticos para evitar daños en caso de que haya cortes eléctricos. En lo que se refiere al almacenamiento de sus alimentos, mantenga cerrados sus congeladores y refrigeradores. Un refrigerador puede mantener los alimentos fríos durante 4 horas. La ciudad de San Antonio va a ampliar el horario de sus centros de parques hasta las 9 de la noche, así que usted si necesita ir a algún lugar esta noche puede visitar nuestros centros de parques. También estamos trabajando para extender las horas de nuestras bibliotecas y algunos de los centros para las personas de la tercera edad o lo que se llaman los senior centers, y vamos a tener una lista disponible a las 4 de la tarde. La compañía de vía va a transportar sin ningún costo a las personas que necesiten ir a estas facilidades. Si tiene alguna pregunta, por favor llame al 311 o visite el sitio web de la Oficina de Manejo de Emergencias de aquí de la ciudad de San Antonio. La ciudad va a mandar una notificación electrónica a aquellas personas que se han registrado que tienen alguna condición médica vulnerable. Eso se mandará a las 3:30 y quizás mandemos una notificación a su celular a las 4:30. Y finalmente, si hay cortes de electricidad, se le mandará también una notificación a aquellas personas que son afectados cuando ese corte suceda. Muchas gracias por su asistencia y por su disponibilidad con la ciudad. Gracias.
Thank you, Maria and Rudy. Just a couple final notes. One, we have begun notifying folks who are part of the critical care registry that there are outages anticipated by ERCOT. And the second is, I mentioned that there may be a 4:30 wireless emergency alert go out if the conditions remain as they are with ERCOT. In addition to that, once the rolling outages do start occurring, we will send another wireless alert out to folks. So we are going to over-communicate what's happening here so everybody is aware, and we appreciate your presence also to get the word out. So at this time, any of our speakers are here. Our city manager is here as well to take any questions that you might have, and Laura has a walking mic.
Can you guys hear me? Yeah. Just a quick question. Yesterday we did a story with SAWS about how there are already water outages because people are overusing water. So there, at my last check, was about 18 water outages throughout the city. Should ERCOT now also have rolling blackouts? How are CPS and SAWS going to work in order to make sure that they're taking care of all quadrants of the city for all people that are also struggling to be without water and potentially without power?
Well, the water outages are probably main breaks, and those main breaks, usually if they're serious enough to affect people's ability to get water for inside purposes, are fixed usually within 12 hours. The ones you hear about are the much smaller leaks that take much longer to get to an address. So all of the issues that Rudy talked about addressing those things to make sure that he gets power to the people and therefore the water gets to the people are taken care of. There will be no issues tonight regarding your ability to get water for your basic purposes. None at all. Not even for the discretionary use of watering your lawn. I will tell you that if today is your watering day, go ahead and skip it because it rained a couple of days ago and you don't need that water. So save yourself a little bit of money. Use Mother Nature for your watering day because it doesn't save a whole lot of electricity to put the water on your lawn, but you'd be surprised how much electricity power it does take saws to fill up the tanks, put water in there for the next day, because at night is when we do that, and during the day they drain out because there's so much use, especially from 7 to 11, which are the normal watering days. So in addition to all the things that we talked about, if today's your watering day, skip it just because it rained already, but also because it helps conserve, and the reasons we all want to conserve.
And I'll just make a couple of comments. During times of excessive heat, we don't disconnect customers. So, all our customers who are able to take power should have power, unless, they moved out of their house for some reason. The reason we ask customers to conserve is just because it makes sense. Every little bit of power that we don't use means that there's more power that ERCOT can utilize for the rest of the state, that keeps us all out of a load shed situation. And so by and large, I will tell you, San Antonio answers the call every single time. We have got one of the most robust energy efficiency and demand response programs in the state of Texas. Right now, the Public Utility Commission is considering energy efficiency as an issue on how to replicate across the state what's already happening here in San Antonio. So when we push a button and ask customers to conserve, they show up, and so they've got to be part of the equation. And we really appreciate the work that our customers do to save when we ask them to save. It helps protect the entire system when we're all proactive with each other. Right now, my puppies are not real happy that it's 80 degrees in my house, but even in my own home, I conserve every day of the summer because it's just the right thing to do.
Yes, my name is Antonio with Univision. It looks to me like this is pretty serious because all the big answers are right here, otherwise you wouldn't be here, none of you. So it looks like ERCOT 2 years ago, they were not ready for the low temperatures. It looks like ERCOT is not ready again, but now with high temperatures. So this company it looks like it's not ready for anything. And then lives are going to be put at risk today because some people, we know that they're connected with machines, they have things in their homes, and a lot of these households maybe are low-income residents with no internet access, with no nothing. So what's going to happen to them? And how serious, Mayor, is this, that you have to be here with all these fine people over here with you?
I'll take a crack and welcome any input from anyone else. 2.5 years ago, after Winter Storm Uri, what we heard from the community was that we weren't communicating proactively enough. And so primarily when you see it, these organizations up here together, it's because we heard our community loud and clear that we need to be proactive and give customers information so that they can decide what they need to do to protect themselves. We're communicating with all our critical care customers who are on life-saving equipment, or we've got about 3,500 customers, give or take, that are on that list, and so they know that there's a possibility. Again, we may get through this evening and there be no issue. It's happened a couple of times where we've gotten close in the past, and ERCOT is, I think, by and large, doing the best they can with the resources they have. But this is a conversation that's been happening since Winter Storm Uri. There haven't been a lot of power plants built in the state of Texas to keep up with the growth of the state of Texas. So it's been, I don't know, we're 57 days in the summertime, of 100 degrees or more. It's been not just hot, it's been extremely hot. And the load has been a bit higher. So it's probably going to be a couple, 2-3 years that we're going to see ourselves in this situation if the heat persists, because the state's got some work to do. And it's not, we're looking at our own generation planning for the future. We've got more generation than we need today to serve the city of our customers here in our community. So I feel good about where we are today, but we've got to plan for the future, and the rest of the state's got to do the same. So it's going to take investment in critical infrastructure across the state to get us out of a situation where we have to worry about this. But we're being really proactive, trying to get ahead of it, so customers can't say, maybe they will say, but at least we're trying to communicate to them as best we can that there may be an issue this evening.
Mayor, so how serious is this?
Well, I would say, number one, you're seeing our county judge, Peter Sakai. You're seeing, I think, the full city council here, our public utilities here, because this is a serious situation. When ERCOT says there might not be enough power for the state, that's a problem. You asked me if I'm happy to be here. I think that's your question. I'm not happy to be here, especially in a state where we were guaranteed that the ERCOT grid is ready to go after the Winter Storm Uri debacle. So the point of this press conference, though, is to make sure that everybody is aware of the situation and does what they need to do to conserve the power, to help out the state grid, and to make sure that we are aware of the situation with regard to rolling outages so they can take care of any equipment. We did start the process of notifying folks on the critical care registry. We're going to continue to do that. We're going to continue to over-communicate. And then we'll have conversations afterwards about what still remains to be done with regard to securing the energy grid.
Hi there, I'm Avery Everett with KSAT. I think my question particularly pertains to CPS, but I'd be interested to hear other leaders' perspectives on it as well. So I know today was classified as a yellow day. We had 16 of those in July and 12 in June. And, I guess my question is, we're having this press conference on a yellow day. What's the threshold for an orange or red day? And then to follow up with that, so many stories we've done so far this summer. When I live in Texas, I've been dealing with heat my entire life. That's the response from community members. How do you build buy-in to conserve when people have been dealing with this their entire lives?
Well, and we just had this conversation leading into this event. Our protocols for green and yellow really are voluntary conservation. It's, when it's hot and we know customers are going to be using a lot of power, conservation really is good for the pocketbooks when they can. The orange and red designations really tie to an ERCOT condition. So when ERCOT starts issuing energy emergency alerts, and it goes from 3 to 2 to 1, when that reserve capacity, when the gap between the two lines falls below 3,000 megawatts, ERCOT will put out a release, saying that now we're asking for kind of mandatory conservation, and that's when we'll get into the orange. Once they issue an EEA1 that says load shed is imminent, we'll issue the red alert. So orange and red are tied to an ERCOT, a formal ERCOT condition that's part of our communication protocols when we get into that situation. We've expanded that because we're trying to give as much information to customers on a regular basis about what they can do, depending upon kind of the conditions of the grid.
So how do you build buy-in then on those voluntary days?
Well, I tell you, we've got our customers respond very, very well to our four level alert. So I think for the customers that are proactive and want to be engaged, we get great buy-in. There's some customers that, may not pay attention, may not care. It just depends on, the individual. I don't know that we have any buy-in with them because they're really not paying attention to the levels, and they'll keep their air conditions on 73 degrees no matter what the condition is. So we got to do the best we can with the customers who will engage us to ask for conservation when we can get it. But I will tell you, it makes a difference. When things get tight, it makes a difference.
So today is a day of care.
Today is absolutely a day to care. Yes, ma'am.
So you're asking people to conserve energy. What is the city, what is the county, what are these large buildings like the convention center, the Alamo Dome doing? Are they remaining in operation? Is the city going to shut off power there? In City Hall right now, I can feel it's actually a little warm in here, so I don't know if it's going to just the AC up here. But what are your entities doing, especially the large buildings, to conserve power?
I'll tell you what I'm doing, and I'll turn it over to Eric. When CPS Energy, on days like today, you'll see the lights go off. You'll see the temps get bumped up. And tonight, during that period where it's going to get tight, you'll see the lights off in our parking garage. So at our facilities, we have a condition where we take action to do our part. So at CPS Energy, we practice what we preach on days like today.
Yeah, Joey, I'm glad you noticed that the temperature is a little warmer here. So at 2:11 today, we executed throughout our city buildings an order that we put in place after Uri, and consistently, so that we're powering down where we can and where we have control. The Alamo Dome, no events tonight, will be powered down. We do have 3,000 people at the convention center tonight at an event, but we're going to try to limit that exposure as much as possible and make sure we're continuing to communicate with that paid customer who will be there tonight. But no, we went through a lot of effort to make sure that we were aligned. So a large organization to align to make sure that we could power down when we need to. Now that does mean that fire stations and police stations and the 911 center, the 311 center, those are in full operation because those are emergency facilities and we need them to stay powered up and ready to go.
SAWS is CPS Energy's biggest power user. So what we're doing, for example, is Medio wastewater treatment plant. We're shutting it down. We're going on generators. Other plants, pump stations, that was a big problem during Uri because certain pump stations couldn't push water into the community. But if you turn off the certain ones, that's fine because we can alternate and we can plan. So we are turning off certain other water plants. East downtown, surprisingly, is air conditioned by SAWS around the Alamo Dome in that area. And so we are changing the way we power that. Collectively, all of this saves 6 to 10 milliwatts. That's the equivalent to up to 2,000 homes. And it's not the equivalent, you were asking from KSAT, how do you get buy-in? It's not simply, as Rudy was saying, turning your thermostat down to 72, from 72 like maybe to 78. It's the entire home. It's the refrigerators, the air conditioning. It's the laundry. 2,000 homes during that one-time period is the equivalent of what we're able to do because of the plan that we have in place now to have that reduction, have that voluntary response to what we're going through right now.
Jeff, similar question for you. AT&T Center, Coliseum, I don't know what operations there look like.
Well, as your county judge, I have statutory authority to activate the Office of Emergency Management, and I have done that. We have also activated the county senior cooling stations, and we've activated that our emergency services employees are on call. One of the things that we have a list of where those stations are. I don't know if the media wants that, but we have ESD number 2, which is station 124 at 14785 Omicron Drive. We have Emergency Service District 3 at 1126 Borgfield Road. We have Emergency District number 5 at 7120 East 6th Street in Somerset, Texas. ESD District number 7 at 11615 Galm Road. ESD District number 8 at 20825 Babcock Road. ES District number 10 at 9100 South Loop 1604 East. And Emergency District number 12 at the 14229 FM 1346 at St. Edward, Texas. What I would like to state for the record is, and I realize the concerns and the questions have been raised about the adequate system and what have we done in the last 2 years. What I will tell you today as the new county judge is you're seeing a system that is proactive. And I think we need to give ourselves credit that we move fast. I just learned right after lunchtime about this situation. We've already activated Office of Emergency Management. We've activated the cooling centers. I've got my staff and our PIO, Public Information staff, on call. And as you see, the mayor and I and the city staff and the county staff have already conferred and are working together, which I think is extraordinary, Mayor. And I want to thank you for your leadership, and Eric Walsh for your leadership at City Hall. And so you're seeing, and I think that's the silver lining. We're ready, we're addressing it, and we will deal with whatever problems. I am confident that the community, especially with today's press conference, will understand the severity and the seriousness of the circumstance. And I think, Rudy, you have done a great job at CPS Energy in getting that message, and we have basically brought the energy loads down so that we have avoided some major issues. And Robert Puente, thank you for your leadership at SAWS, because as you say, they pull a lot of the power. So thank you for contributing to be a partner. So I want the takeaway, whether we shut down, I'll be honest with you, I had a conversation today. All right, if things get worse, and they will not get worse, I think they will get better after today's news conference. All right, we may have to close the courthouse. And I'm prepared to, as an emergency management director, to do that. But look at this. This is the complexity of the issue we face. Then I'm sending all my employees home. Guess what they got to do? They got to turn the AC on, right? So this is a very complex issue that needs the expertise in this room to make the best decisions for everybody. So yes, the county is the landlord of the now Frost Bank Center. And if I have to, I'll shut that place down. But right now, I think that's way, way too preliminary. Is there any other further questions for me?
Kind of more of a general question, but I know whenever we see all the city and county leaders together, that it is a serious matter. I can count on one hand the amount of times we've seen that emergency alert go out. It was during COVID, it was during Uri, it was during Omicron, and it is potentially today. That might be the first time, despite the press conference, despite what we're putting out on our stations, that might be the first time some people are hearing that they could lose power. If they are then scrambling to get to a place that is designated as a cooling zone, and forgive me if I missed this, how are we prepared to get them there? Have there been conversations with VIA? Have there been conversations with potentially ride shares?
Yeah, again, that's why we're putting all the information out there. And if folks need a ride, VIA is going to provide no-cost transportation for folks to those cooling locations.
Yes, I have a couple of questions that kind of build on each other. To start off with, and this kind of goes off of what a couple of others have asked, I just want to see exactly how likely do we really feel like the rolling blackouts are to begin, because it seems like it's more likely than not, but I just want to confirm that I'm understanding that correctly.
You might want to remind them also, that this is not going to be a condition that changes much.
Yeah, great point there. Look, it's hard to tell. You know, we watch this. You know, on Sunday afternoon, I'm watching this picture at home and asking my team, you know, what they're seeing because you know it's hot, and as long as the weather across Texas persists above 100 degrees, there are going to be days like today, from now until the end of the summertime, because of the kind of the weather patterns that we're in. If wind doesn't show up that day, whatever or we lose some power plants, which happens, you know, like I said, we've had a great run season, but it could happen anywhere across the state and create a condition for us. So because that picture, you know, when that picture changes and you can already see that blue line now is kind of coming down, you know, more in line with the supply line, and the closer we get to it, ERCOT's making decisions, and they're, you know, bringing resources on and doing what they do to try to get that situation reversed. We may get to 7 o'clock. That you go to that picture, it's going to look totally different, and kind of in that moment the emergency is off. But if it's not, and we haven't been proactive about coming together and letting the community know that it's possible, you know, then that's where, you know, customers are going to be upset with us because we didn't try. And so today is all about trying. to get the word out so that if it happens, it's ready. But I can tell you that, the folks who are responsible for the grid across Texas are doing everything they can to ensure, one of the things that we didn't talk about here is that we're on the phone today with all our major users so that if you have backup generation and you can turn it on during this time frame, then that'll move those lines, to a better position. And utilities across the state are doing the same thing. So again, I would rather be here and tonight be a non-event than tonight be an event and us not have gone through the process of coming together like this. I'm extremely proud, quite frankly, of the fact that, as Judge said, that we're here because we've come a long way in 2 years and we drill this stuff constantly together. All agencies together. So I'm hopeful that ERCOT will do its job and ensure that we have the resources we need come 7 o'clock. But we're ready if that situation's not the case. And I will tell customers, if you find yourself, impacted by a load shed event, we have done a lot of work to make sure that our system works the way it's supposed to, and that you'll be down for 15 minutes and then you'll get your power back. So this is really the first actual test we might have to ensure that the things that we said we've done actually work out that way. But I am confident that our team has done that work and that we're ready.
Rudy won't say this, but this is not a CPS problem. This is an ERCOT problem. What CPS is doing is coming to the rescue of ERCOT and the rest of Texas. We, ever since Rudy's been in charge, it's been a different day. It's been day and night over there at CPS. And I'm saying that as the head of SOS, working with Rudy and working with CPS and Janie as the new chair, is they have been so communicative about what they're doing, how they're doing it. Again, I'm saying that we are their largest power consumer. And before they would just turn off a pump station and we had to scramble to move water around. Now we told them leave these stations alone, but these are game. These are the ones we can turn off. So that coordination is really what's going on. So he won't say it. It's not CPS. This is essentially almost a drill for us that we are taking very seriously. Hopefully there's no rolling blackouts, brownouts, whatever they're called. But this is not CPS. State leaders will tell you that they took care of ERCOT. It's evident that they did not. They'd rather pick on our city council and our mayor telling them what to do than to fix ERCOT.
All right, I think pretty well summarizes it, Robert. Thank you very much. So I think that's our final question. We will have individual interviews after this. So thank you all very much for helping us get the word out.
Janie will have